Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am so excited that you decided to join me here today for my very first speed build with the brand new high school years expansion pack. Now, I feel as though I am very much behind on this new content, and that is mainly because I have a very cool announcement, and you may have seen it over on the community tab or on Twitter, but I just bought a house. So right as the pack came out, literally the day after. Okay, so Thursday, I think it was last week at the time of me recording this, the pack came out and I jumped in and I was like, oh my God, let me check it out. I need to see all the objects and I want to start building a high school immediately, or at least start coming up with ideas. And then quite literally the next day, my husband and I closed on our house and we started moving, and we have been moving things for 5 days, maybe 6 days now. I mean, we had internet very early on in this process, but holy moly, I haven't moved in maybe 3 or 4 years at this point, and I completely forgot how terrible it is. Like, to be totally fair, it's literally terrible. I don't like moving at all. However, this was probably the easiest move that I've ever had to take part in. So I am just really grateful. We're all settled in. Everything is wonderful. We love our house. And that is why I have been, or at least I've felt as though I've been somewhat absent in the midst of the excitement of this new pack. But I'm so excited because I am building a high school, as you could probably tell at this point. And this was a very intimidating task for me because I had no idea what to do. I knew I wanted, I'd say like a majority, I wanted flat roof lines. I wanted to, of course, use as many of the new assets as I possibly could. And this was right around the time, I think it was right before the pack came out, we got the rounded rooms. Now, unfortunately, I noticed this, and I don't know if the most recent patch has addressed this, but trying to use platforms either around or within rounded rooms, I hope I phrased that correctly. I posted a bunch on Twitter about it. I was trying to play with platforms and rounded rooms, and they were not really working for me at all. They were kind of it almost looked like you were stretching out silly putty. Like that's kind of what it looked like when I would raise up a platform. So I was really disappointed because I really wanted to try to use platforms to my advantage with this build, but I ended up making something that I really liked, and it wasn't at all what I had originally envisioned. Now, I know a lot of the assets are very like Art Deco-y. I don't know anything about that architectural style or just style in general, so I just kind of pieced things together that I thought would look good. And I think it looks nice. I have to say the roof line of the very highest part of this high school, I was going to try to say like the top floor, only the first floor is accessible. And actually, I want to make note of that right now as we're building this. Only the first floor is decorated and accessible. And this is because for gameplay, it's honestly really difficult, at least for me, to have my Sims going up and down the stairs across like a big build like this when there is a particular time frame that your Sim has to go from one class to the next, or whatever the case is. Getting these tasks done in a really big area was challenging for me. So trying to do this all on one floor felt really good. But you know what you could do is you could expand up to the second floor if you felt so inclined to do so. And you could maybe create like different hobby rooms. I was kind of thinking of that too. I made 2 classrooms, a cafeteria, a principal's office, a teacher's lounge. There's like a reception area as well. And then there's kind of this open area that's a library with a few research stations and computers and things. And then there's also, of course, like the lockers in the hallways. So I didn't have as much space as I thought, but working on just the first floor, I think was the best way to go for me. You can, of course, like I said, do whatever you would like with this. Make a second floor, make a third floor. I don't care. Do whatever you want. I just really liked playing all on one floor. It made life so much easier. But as you can see, the exterior is kind of sort of coming together. Now, this seemed like a really large build. And granted, this is on a 64 by 64 lot. Like, who the heck did this to us? Because honestly, I was so intimidated that the main lot that everyone was likely going to build upon this pack's release was a 64 by 64. It was so intimidating to me. I didn't know what to do. but I kind of sort of figured out something. I struggled a lot with this entry area, I suppose, like this kind of, I can't even call it a front yard. It's not a house. But I really struggled with this front entrance area. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it. My high school was actually pretty big. I kind of forgot, like when I was in high school and I was there every day, like running from one side of the building to the other, I didn't really think of it as a big building. But then looking back at pictures of it, it was actually kind of huge, and it had, I think there was a basement level, the ground floor, and I think just a second level. So it was like a 3-story high school. But even saying that, even acknowledging that it was fairly large and that it was 3 stories, it wasn't anything close to this. Like the grounds of my high school didn't seem that big. I think we had a football field, a baseball field, and there was just a lot of parking. Like that's what I recall. So what I'm trying to get to is that I just didn't know how to decorate this front space at all. So immediately I was thinking of movies such as High School Musical and Mean Girls and basically any other movie, like teen rom-com, if you will. I don't know if that's technically the genre, but any movie like that that had students at these huge high schools that just seemed so overwhelming. Because even as big as my high school was, I think my graduating class was only 400 or 500 students. So I think in total at my school, if we're thinking of freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, I mean, there may have been 1,000 kids at my school, which I know that there are schools with many more students than that. So I don't know. My school seemed pretty small compared to some of these other like stereotypical American high schools. But anyway, I just didn't know what to do with the front. So I did kind of section it off a little bit. I tried to do some landscaping just to get a feel for what I wanted to do. And this was my first time exploring not only the build and buy menu, but also the debug menu. And I didn't know what was available. I didn't know how I wanted to decorate things, but I did find this sign it was either the debug menu or the regular menu. I can't remember. But it's kind of like a welcome to this high school sign, which I really enjoyed. And then I found this debug fountain, which I do switch out though off camera. I was so proud of thinking about this, but I thought of the big statue from Discovery University on the Brightchester campus, like the big open book, and I put that in place of the fountain because I thought it looked very nice and was very academic, and it made me very, very happy. I was really excited that I actually remembered to use that. And then I did go into the debug menu here for Get Together, and I pulled out these because I've made bike racks with them before. However, the debug menu with high school years actually has something that is, I think that more so looks like a bike rack. I think it's technically one of those, like, I can't really call it a guardrail, but it's probably like the metal railing that you would see around amusement park rides. And that makes sense because there's a pier with a bunch of amusement park rides in the new world of Copperdale. So I think they're more so for that, but they kind of look like they could be bike racks. And also when I was building this was before the tool mod and anything was updated. So I struggled with landscaping big time. I struggled with like scaling objects and stuff like that. It was actually really hard and I didn't realize it was going to be so difficult for me. But I do love the debug menu so much. I used a lot of these like bigger rocks and boulders and shrubs and trees to frame this lot a little bit more. I didn't want to create a big parking lot. I saw a few people were doing that. I didn't feel like doing that just because there was one over off to the side of this lot, but I didn't want to do a parking lot, and therefore the front just kind of had to be all landscaped, but I didn't want to extend the lot to the entire lot size because it was so large, and therefore I just did a bunch of landscaping and tried to make it blend in a little bit. But we're actually now working on the back of the build. I kind of skipped ahead a little bit here, and I wanted there to be a few other activities here, so this is actually going to be a pool. And the reason I did this is because my high school, I had friends that were on the swim team, okay, and we didn't have a pool at my high school, so they had to get up at, I don't know, some ungodly hour, like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to go practice for swim team at a different location. Like, I don't even know where they went. I don't know if they went to like the Y or something like that. I have no idea. But they had to get up super, super early to go practice for swim team and then show up at school. So I was like, you know what? For this high school, because I have so much room to fill, I'm going to give them a pool. And there's really nothing special about it. Like I didn't put bleachers or seats really or anything in here. It's not like there would be a swim meet that would be held here, but they do have access to a pool. And as odd as it might sound, maybe in between classes, they could go for a nice little refreshing swim. The 1 or 2 days that I actually played with the gameplay for this pack, I don't think there would really be that much time, but before school, you have a decent amount of time before school to kind of just goof around, hang out with friends, whatever the case is. And there was like a teacher in the pool, so clearly the teachers wanted to take advantage of the fact that there's a swimming pool on school grounds, so do with that what you will. I don't know, but I just thought it was kind of a nice idea. Like maybe this is where there are a lot of swim meets. Maybe in Copperdale and the surrounding towns, this is like the go-to school or like school location, campus location where they would actually host swim meets, maybe like not nationals, maybe like regionals or something. I don't know. It seemed like a nice idea. And I'm also carrying the landscaping through to the backyard, the back of the build. And the shrubs from Get Together came in really, really nicely. I loved them so, so much. And then I wanted to carry through to the back, which is basically a mirror image of the front. I think I did make the back, if you can kind of call it like the back deck area, like the back entryway. I kind of made it a little bit bigger than the front, but not too much. And then even after that swimming pool, I had so much space to fill. And I thought, well, you know what? We got basketball with City Living. Why don't I make like a basketball court? And I started to do this with this fence from, I want to say Get to Work, which I did really like. However, I did find a debug fence in the debug menu for high school years. And I think it's a pretty dark green, I want to say, which did really blend in with the grass, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but I thought it looked really, really nicely and it allowed me to make my own like custom shapes and things. And I was really proud of this too. I was able to use platforms a little bit because again, I think the issue with the platforms was just because of the rounded rooms. That seemed to be where the issue was, but I decided to make a basketball court. I do change the dimensions a little bit just to make it fit, make it actually make sense. But I make some bleachers out of platforms and I actually use one of these kind of like, they're almost modular, I'd say. There's seats that came with this pack as well. So I made like bleachers that are kind of tiered. There's like 2 tiers. So you could have, you know, you and your friends could go to like a basketball game, hang out on the bleachers and, you know, do whatever. My favorite thing to do was football games. I love to go to football games, but I never actually watched the game. To this day, and I swear it's just because I despise the sport. I'm so sorry if you love football. That's fantastic. I cannot stand it. And I do not, to this day, understand any of the rules. Like, none of them. I have no idea. I will watch the Super Bowl every year and have zero idea what's going on. I'm just going to admit it. I am just going to admit it. But you can see that I placed a couple of picnic tables outside. Now, those are from the toddler stuff pack. And I did use a variety of the swatches. I don't remember if I changed them on camera or not, but I thought they were super cute because they had just like food items on them and stuff. And we didn't have anything that decorative at my high school, but I just thought it was kind of a neat idea. Like thinking about, I don't know, maybe like the school trying to promote like healthy eating. And so they kind of like decorated the picnic tables outside to encourage students to get fruit and things like that instead of just like garbage food all the time. I don't know. But then there's also a natural-ish exit from this back portion of the build. And then we move on to the interior, which again was shockingly not as big as I thought it was. But this is going to be the kind of front entry area. And I was so ecstatic to see that for this new flooring that we got, there were all the different angled pieces so you could make your own custom designs in the tiling. I thought that was so cool. I was so happy to see that. And I made this big open hanging light area in the entryway just because I thought it seemed like really Art Deco from what I was researching online. So that is the only part of the second floor that's decorated, and I put that in little air quotes, but the entryway here in the reception area is, honestly, there wasn't a lot of room. So I used a half wall to kind of separate the space because I thought it would be really awkward to just have a bunch of desks in the center without any kind of like back. Do you know what I mean? It just felt very like exposing. So I did use these countertops here to just kind of create a back to the desk area. So there's like this higher half wall. We have some countertops because I was trying to make a faux desk. Now for the school to function, there's no receptionist, there's no anything like that. I think you have 2 teachers, a principal, and a custodian. So there's no one that's going to come to the front desk. You don't have to go to the front desk in any capacity. There doesn't need to be a front desk to like sign into anything, register for classes, like none of that. But I really just thought it was going to be necessary for the sake of the build looking somewhat realistic. So I use these countertops to do that. I added some of these like file cabinets. I think they were technically meant for classrooms, but it's kind of nice to have it in the entryway. And then I also just used, I think, the same clock that I used outside, which I loved. That is from the bowling stuff pack. I think it's the bowling night? No, bowling stuff pack. I think it is. I don't remember, but it's a fantastic stuff pack. And I use those items so much. And I love that clock very, very much. I also decided to put a research machine here, like the archive machine or whatever it's called from Discovery University, because I was worried about putting a computer there, thinking that all of your Sims would just go and use that darn computer whenever they wanted. So no computer there. I think the only computer I put in this build, I think it was in the principal's office. When I was playtesting it, no one could get into the principal's office, which was nice. I'm assuming unless your sim gets in trouble, you can't enter the office because there are specific doors for faculty only and students as well. Or like everyone's allowed to access it, or it's just faculty in some capacity. So that was kind of nice, but I didn't see an issue with that when I was playtesting this. Like none of the students were in the principal's office using the computer. The principal wasn't just sitting in there. It seemed to function okay. However, for one of the daily tasks that might show up is you do have to use a computer to study for your exams. However, alternatively, you could just use a bookcase. So I decided to just include research machines. I thought that would kind of be a little bit different. It would prevent your Sims from just doing anything and everything on the darn computer as they typically do. And there are tons of bookshelves because I created a little bit of a library space, but I did struggle so much on what to put on the other side of the wall. I was trying to think of like a piece of artwork or something. And I think what I ended up doing is I think there's a piece of artwork, but I can't remember which one I even put there. I actually struggled so much with decor in this build, even though we got a fair amount with the pack itself, and I tied a lot of Discovery University items into this build, but I found it really difficult to decorate the walls. I don't know why, but I struggled for a long time with it because I did this build over the course of 5-ish days, and it's not even that long of a build, but it took me that long because I was trying to conceptualize things. I was also moving. So it took me a little bit of time, but this is the hallway where all of the lockers are. So there are no lockers on the other side of this build. They are just here, and there's more than is required for this particular lot type. Now, I did encounter one thing. So I don't know off the top of my head. You guys are probably going to tell me in the comments. I don't know how many students will show up every single day at school. But what I did is I only put 4 desks in each classroom, and I was so embarrassed when I play tested it because there were always like at least 1 or 2 students, I think 2 students at most, who would end up popping into the classroom and sitting on the floor because there was no desk. So you can add more desks, or you can rest assured that there's a chance that your sim, if they don't get to the classroom fast enough, will have to sit on the floor for the duration of the class, which isn't ideal. So I would just add a few desks if that interests you. But this little hallway is actually almost done. I am just adding, I was gonna use these here because I love them. I think they're so pretty. They're side tables, but I end up using the career day table. Now this is something that is only available or functional, I guess I could say, when the career day event takes place. And that can actually happen over in the auditorium, which is on a separate lot right next to the school. So this isn't necessarily a functional item for the purposes of the school itself, but I thought it was really cute because I thought that it could, theoretically be a place where your students could sign up for different clubs or events or just get information on things like that. So I did include that in the hallway, and this is going to be our very first classroom. So I think there would be room to add another desk or 2 if you wanted to do so. You might just have to shift things a little tiny bit because I really didn't realize how small these rooms were. This is what I'm talking about. I didn't realize how much room I actually needed to build a high school, and I thought this build was huge, and it is really not. It actually seems pretty small now that it's all furnished and done. So what I had to do with this whiteboard, because you need at least 2 whiteboards, you need 8 desks, I think total, which is why I only did 4, because I was thinking, oh, at least I've met the requirements. Oh, that's misleading. Because technically the teacher desk here, that one, and the other one that I put in the other classroom as well as the principal's desks, are all desks. Do you know what I mean? You pick it up and put it down, they're all categorized as desks. So that was a little misleading. Anyway, but I had to put the teacher's desk at a little bit of an angle. And then I was trying to theme each room. Now, I don't believe that each room technically will have a particular subject that is taught. I think what happens is that the subject will just change depending on the day, and it really doesn't matter what classroom you're in. It's just kind of default the way that it ends up working. It's like randomly assigned, I guess you could say. But I decided to make this room more of like a science room, like science and STEM. So I did choose some like club flags from Get Together that I thought would work really nicely. I did put a telescope in the room. I completely understand you can't use it, but it's there thinking that maybe some days students will have, I don't know, the opportunity to take the telescope outside and look for stars during the day. That doesn't seem, does that happen? Maybe there's like an astronomy club. I don't know. But then I also just tried to pick some other like science related posters and decorations to kind of bring a little bit of that theme to the room itself. And I loved all of these posters that came with this pack. I thought they were really, really nice. They looked like a lot of the informational posters in my science classrooms in high school. And this rug worked so perfectly with the color scheme that I chose. I just wanted it to be a very lively school. This is zero offense to whomever built the high school for the pack. I know there's limitations with how many objects you can put in a build for it to ship with a pack in the first place. I wanted this to just be cluttered to all heck and be really, really decorated, and I think I achieved that. So I was really proud of what I ended up coming up with. There are some beakers and test tubes and things, as well as those computer parts. Again, just trying to tie in that it's kind of a room focused on STEM activities. And then we decorate the cafeteria, which is, yet again, a lot smaller than I anticipated. Now, when I play tested this, I don't necessarily know what was quote unquote wrong, but I couldn't click on the cafeteria station at all during the lunch period for my sim to get food. Thankfully, because my sim was starving, I had put a vending machine in the cafeteria to get like a quick snack, and you can also have your sim grab an apple from their locker at any time, which I thought was actually really cool. I thought that was really nice. It was just another option to get something to eat really quickly to satisfy your sim's hunger need if they were unable to get a full meal during their lunch break. But I don't know what was up with that. If someone knows in the comments, absolutely let me know, because this is of course my first time even exploring the gameplay, so I am not at all an expert yet. I strive to be, but I am not right now. And this is us trying to figure out the seating. Now, I did want to use a pretty big combination of the bar height tables and the round tables, but again, really low on space. Honestly thought I had so much more space. So I used 2 of the bar height tables, and then there are 2 bigger round tables because I thought they were really necessary for a cafeteria. I feel like the bar height tables are great for maybe like a boba shop or something like that, but the round tables were a necessity. So I liked using both and just kind of choosing some decorations for the cafeteria as well. I think I ended up choosing a painting that came with, I think it's Dine Out. It's the one of just like painted breakfast foods and things. I thought that was so cool. And that right there is actually from Discovery University, that big chalkboard, I guess you could call it. And it kind of has like sports icons on it and a menu. I thought that would be appropriate for high school as well. There's nothing on the tables. I just kind of put up some blinds in each room on the windows, thinking that those were like the giant blinds that you could pull down and block out all that nasty sunlight. And now this is the one and only bathroom. The only requirements were 2 bathroom stalls, like 2 toilets, and a couple of sinks. So I made 1 bathroom. And thankfully, there wasn't really an issue when I play tested anything. Like, it wasn't like the bathroom was overwhelmed with people all the time. So it seemed to work okay, but there's definitely an opportunity if you were to expand into the second floor. I would add like another bathroom or two. That might be something. And I wish I had already built so much of it, so I wasn't going to undo it. But I wish I had done that one more tile because I would have been able to get 3 bathroom stalls in there instead. But this is going to be the second classroom. And this one's more of like an arts and crafts type thing. Thinking maybe like literature, creative writing, painting, just music, anything like that. And again, your Sims are just going to be sitting at the desks listening to the teachers. But I did notice some Sims in their downtime jumping into these classrooms and using some of these items, and it filled me with a lot of joy because that was absolutely my intention. There was actually like a half-finished painting on the easel by the time my Sim got to this classroom, because it was actually the way that it assigned it. It was the second classroom that my Sim went to for the day. So that was kind of neat. I really, really liked that. I'm glad it worked in that case. I'm glad that some Sim randomly decided to try to paint something and that it was available there for my Sim to look at by the time they got to class. And then I'm just adding a few more decorations and things just to make it a little bit more lively, a little bit more themed and exciting. I don't know, just feel a little bit more immersive. That was the goal. I just wanted this to be immersive as possible. And I really wish, like my school, it wasn't ugly by any means, but it was not decorated at all like this. I mean, it was very cold. I don't know if that's fair to say, but it's a very cold high school. Some of the rooms were more themed than others, depending on the teacher, if they wanted to decorate their room and everything, which even in high school, I very much appreciated. But I don't know, what is it like for you? What was your high school experience like? Because for me, I was an emo kid. I was the one wearing like the seatbelt, belt buckles, the band t-shirts, wearing like the thick eyeliner. Ooh, if you could imagine it. I looked fantastic, but would I do it now? No, I would not. It's not really my style now. It was really more so about like the crowd that I was hanging out with, who were all wonderful people. But we definitely all kind of like follow the same style, listen to the same music and stuff. And at age 30, there are still a couple of people that I talk to, which I think is kind of wonderful. It means that those relationships were meaningful and great and impactful, and I still think of them fondly. But anyway, I'm getting very reminiscent. I'm getting very nostalgic as I go through building this library, but we're getting very close to the end of the build. I don't show the principal's office and the teacher's lounge being furnished because I knew this build was going to be super, super long, but you will see them in the screenshot, so don't worry. This will be available on the gallery ASAP, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on this one, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Feelings. Are you thinking about me tonight? Your hands around my waist, just let the music play. Like a drug, I am hooked on you. Sweeter than summer wine, baby, just hold me tight. Like a drug, I am hooked on you. And that makes me say, oh man, you make it feel like paradise. Goddamn, I think I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh man, you make it feel like paradise. Paradise. I'm taking a mental picture in my mind just to keep this moment till the end of time.